Hey, welcome to the Sunday preview for this week. It's the Feast of Corpus Christi, really big deal, great feast of the Blessed Sacrament. Today the Holy Father is going to be going celebrating Mass at the Lateran Basilica and then going in procession from the Lateran to St. Mary Major and give benediction at St. Mary Major. A great tradition in Rome I used to take part in, really loved it. So today's gospel is from St. Luke, and it's on the multiplication of the loaves. That's a very familiar one to all of us. But I thought I'd maybe focus on the reading from St. Paul. It's an excerpt from his letter to the Corinthians, the first letter to the Corinthians, chapter 11, which really speaks to the Eucharist and the celebration of Mass in the early church. It goes like this. Brothers and sisters, I received from the Lord what I handed on to you. That the Lord Jesus, the night he was handed over, took bread, and after he had given thanks, broke it and said, "This is my body that is for you. Do this in remembrance of me." In the same way, also the cup after the supper, saying, "This cup is the new covenant in my blood. Do this as often as you drink of it in remembrance of me. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the death of the Lord until he comes." The word of the Lord. I decided to focus on this short reading from St. Paul because it really speaks to the Eucharistic faith of the early church. And when I say early church, I mean early. He probably wrote this in the year 51 or 52, and that was before any gospel had been written. And St. Paul was saying that I'm passing on to you what I've received. So this was a tradition he was talking about. They didn't have books. They didn't have gospels written out. They didn't have letters of St. Paul yet that we take for granted. And already those early Christians were celebrating the Eucharist, and they were using those words. This predates the Gospels. And it just shows that the tradition about the Eucharist started at the time of Jesus. St. Paul wasn't a member of the church at the time when Jesus died and rose. That was a few years later when he had his conversion. So he received from the apostles and from the other teachers in the church what was already going on. He was a Johnny-come-lately to the party, and he sees his role as to pass on the sacredness of the liturgy. He goes on in this letter, if you read the whole thing, to criticize a lot of the Christians who were coming to the celebration of the Eucharist for the wrong motives. They were coming to drink, to eat, and so on. And he says, this is the faith of the church. And those are the same words we use today, 2,000 years later. And they're the same words we'll use 10,000 years from now, if the world is still going. And it just helps us recenter on what we truly believe, that the Eucharist is the true body and blood of Christ. So let's celebrate this Corpus Christi.